Hi, everyone, and welcome to the In the Shoes of podcast, where I make it my goal to see life as much as possible from someone else's point of view. Just like we all have a unique heartbeat, every single one of us sees life only from our own perspectives. Think about it. Can you see and process life exactly as Elon Musk sees and processes life? The answer is you can't, and it applies to every living conscious being here on this pale blue dot. Take two. What's up, everyone? My name is Jeremy Nickel, and this is another episode of In the Shoes of, and I have Erica Blocker here with me today. And I met Erica at Podcast Movement 2017 over in Anaheim, California. I didn't actually go to Disneyland, but Erica, did you go to Disneyland?
Not this trip. I went last time and I was in Anaheim.
Okay. Was it fun? Did you eat a lot of cotton candy and things like that?
It was a lot of fun. I took my kids and the lines were really long, but it was worth it. The rides were amazing.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, maybe I'll reconsider going then, because I just think of all the lines and I just immediately my brain just tells me that it's not a possibility. So, but
you should do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Do it.
All right, I'll do it. Cool. So I'm going to start off with the first question, which is, what shoes are you wearing right now, if any?
We don't wear shoes in our house, so I'm not wearing any shoes right now.
That's totally cool. Can you tell me what the last pair of shoes that you wore were?
Yes, they were some sandals that I wore this morning when I went to church.
That's awesome. Could you send me a picture of those sandals so that I can put it on the blog and in iTunes so that the whole world can see what those exact sandals look like when you went to church?
Absolutely. Do you want me to do it now or later?
Oh, you can just send it to me. Yeah, whenever. Later.
Yeah, I'll send it. Sure. Okay. That's so cool.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, let's go ahead and start getting into some nitty gritty. And just as a reminder, like, this podcast is all about, and I definitely want to talk about your business, what you do, and with your podcast, with how you're helping moms across the world. But really what this is about primarily is getting to know how you actually see life, how you interpret life, what your perspective is on things. So the first way I like to try to do that is by asking you how you define yourself in the third person. What makes you you?
Oh, that's a great question. I've never been asked that before, Jeremy.
First time for everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So how in third person, Erica is dynamic. She is unique. She's very caring, compassionate, and concerned about the well-being of others, and always trying to bring out the best in other people and helping them to see the positive side of their circumstances and helping them to see the possibilities that exist also in their lives, despite whatever circumstances they're facing or had in the past, or anything that they feel stifled by or stuck in, just helping them to see a way out, and also how to live in their purpose and show up as the best expression of who they are. She's also a very dedicated mother and very focused on getting her kids set up to be successful in life, helping them to see the power and importance of following their dreams. She's also very, very passionate about education and learning, and always looking for opportunities to teach and learn herself as well. And she just loves life. She's a lover of love and peace and joy and happiness. She loves music. She loves to help people. She's carefree. She's spontaneous. And she just looks for the beauty in all things. And she's very faithful and spiritual and connected to God, and looking just to be the best expression of herself as well.
And what do you think drives Erica, staying in the third person here? Might as well. It's kind of fun. What drives her to be concerned about the welfare of other people?
That's just the way she's wired. She's always been one of those types of people to care about others. Like, even as a young girl, she always felt compassion and sad for the kids who got picked on in school, and always kind of stood up for them and protected them whenever she felt like they were being treated unfairly. And she's just always had a love for human beings, and just kind and caring, and I believe that it's something she got from her dad because her dad was also very kind and giving, and her grandmother is the same way, and so it's just something probably that was passed down to her genetically, but also just her love of people and fairness and kindness and all things that are good. I think that's what drives her to care so much about other people.
That's beautiful. And you answered my follow-up question within your answer of like, wow, why do you think you are like that? And, right there, just education of that your parents have given you, the, what they passed down to you, whether it's even the nurture versus nature thing. I don't even think that's really, I don't know how relevant it is, but obviously that's a really huge key component about, the value in being an awesome parent. So kudos. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So going now to the first person, when you look at and think of other people, and based on what you've told me, I can assume, what thoughts immediately come to your mind? And I'm talking about the whole spectrum of people, whether it's people that are doing great things or people that, for instance, right now are implementing like ethnic cleansing in Burma, which is a terrible thing. But what thoughts come to your head?
I think that everyone has a story and a reference point, and so if I hear something that don't quite understand, and I'm like, why are they doing that? And I try not to be judgmental because I feel like everyone has a reason. Like something that they're doing is because of either something they've learned or something they've always been doing or they've seen other people doing and they think it's right. So I am very observant of people and I like to watch people and study them. I also have a background in psychology. So I tend to study people. I like to understand what they're thinking, why they have certain behaviors, what's driving those behaviors. And I feel like in general, everyone has, like I said, an underlying reason for the way they behave. Either it's nurture, the same, like you said, nature versus nurture, or if it's just a choice they make. They decide this is how they want to be in life, and I just try not to cast judgment and make assumptions based on things that I see, and I try to just be observant, open, and just looking to understand people. That's what I think that's what I do most is I try to understand where they're coming from and how to help them if they seem like they're closed-minded or they're stuck, just help them to see a different perspective, maybe just give them a new way of looking at things.
Of course. Yeah. No, that's a very we could probably use more of that sort of mindset when we approach, other people and understanding their issues. But getting down to a little bit of a nitty-gritty thing, let's say and I don't want to turn this into some morbid hypothetical thing, but what if your family was in danger? What if someone do you believe that violence is ever appropriate in, let's say, a situation where, one of your kids was in danger because someone was, someone that was not of a stable mind was, trying to harm your children or another family member? How would you react to that?
Like in the moment, if I see someone approaching my child with
In the moment, right there, do you think if you had the ability to stop the person with force, and once again, I don't want to make this a morbid thing, do you think that violence would be appropriate in that situation or not?
well, I would definitely jump in and do my best to protect my child. Violence, I don't know, like that relative can be, a relative term, but I would definitely use whatever I needed to do at that point to protect my child. So if I had to pick up a stick or punch the person or whatever, whatever I had to do, I would basically do it in that moment to protect my family. So I really haven't had that many situations. Actually, I can't even think of one example where I had to do that. But that's just my innate response would be to protect my kids
Of
or my
course.
family.
Of
Hmm.
course. And that's, I wouldn't expect any other answer. It'd be crazy for me to actually hear something a little bit different. But yeah, it's just interesting to think about, kind of our primal even need. We definitely have to we protect our own, right? And at the same time, we don't want to incite more. And like you said, violence is a very relative term. We'll do what we have to do to stop. It doesn't mean that, well, I need to definitely go get a machine gun and start, gunning down everybody
Right.
where every time I see injustice, like, you see some vigilante in a movie. But It's just something that I don't know. It's something I'm really interested in hearing from other people how they would react in certain situations like that.
Yeah, I think that's like you said, a no brainer. It's kind of like in the wild, a mother's going to protect her young, and it's just natural, right? Our instinct to protect what's ours. So, yeah, hopefully I'll never be faced with that type of situation, Jeremy, but it's always good to think about, you know?
Yeah, no, believe me, I don't wish that on anyone at all. And obviously, yeah, I don't want that for sure. But this has given me a good view into how you see things. That's really cool. So let's go a little bit lighter here then. And what is your fundamental passion in life? And are you living that passion right now?
Wow. Oh man, I feel like, you know what, Jeremy, that's not a good question for me because I have so many different passions. I
You're gonna be preaching
love
to the
like
choir then, because
I
that's me big
know,
time. So you might as well just go. I mean, I'm fine.
right? All right.
All I can
So
do
it's
is give
cool
you
that I have
amens to it.
so it's cool that I have more than one, right?
Mhm.
Um, because I learned that we're multifaceted, we're multi-talented people. We're not just one, and we're also multi-passionate. So for so many years, I beat myself up about it, like, oh my gosh, how come I just can't find that one thing that I love and just be good at it? But I realized that I have multiple talents, multiple gifts, and multiple passions. So at different stages in my life, I'm going to be passionate about other things, but for the most part, I think the running theme that I'm still very passionate about is learning, teaching, inspiring, helping, encouraging, and I said helping already, supporting people to see and be their best. Like knowing that there's never a limit on our abilities and the things that we can achieve in life, and just helping people to understand that even if your dreams don't look the same that they did when you were a child, you still dreamt about something. And if you're not living that dream, or if you're not even touching on that dream, or that dream is so far away from you that you've forgotten it, then I feel like you're losing and you're missing out on one of the beauties of life, because life is all about living, living, right? Not just existing. We don't want to just coast and get by. I feel like life is like we can make it so much more better when we take into account the things that we love to do and do more of that. So I'm really passionate about like helping moms, especially because I feel like we are the ones who put everyone before ourselves. We naturally do it. A lot of times we don't even realize that we're doing it, but because we're so dedicated to our children and our family and everyone around us, I feel like it's my mission to encourage women and let them know that it's okay to have a dream outside of being a mother. It's okay for you to want something that's personal and for you to go after it, and that you don't have to feel guilty, and you're not selfish, and you're not a bad person. And that doesn't mean that your kids aren't important to you, but it's just that you also have a life, and you were born with gifts, and you were born with a purpose, and you have certain things that you we're brought here to do, right? So we all have a purpose in life, and we all have something to accomplish. And I feel like if we don't live out our dreams, we're selling ourselves short, and we're disappointing our creator, which I believe is God, who brought us here to do certain things, right? So you're gifted in certain areas, Jeremy, that I'm not gifted in, but you're doing your thing and only you can do it that way. And the same goes for me, right? So we all have those things. And I just feel like that is one of my passions. That is my like leading passion, is to help people understand that there's so much more that you can do with your life than what you're probably doing right now, and helping them figure out how to do that.
Beautifully put. And I like that. I'm going to probably steal that phrase, leading passion, because with us who have multiple passions, definitely, there's got to be one that's kind of a leading one. And then the other is like, it's like a hierarchy of passions, I guess, something like that. Yeah. And two other points that, well, going back to the first part of it, first point number one, yes, life is not meant to be just coasting along. Like, well, I just work this mundane job that I don't really care about. Come home, I'm just gonna, I don't know, watch Happy Days for the rest of, I don't know, whatever show, every single night, and I'm not gonna do anything of purpose. And I think that all my dreams are gone because I have kids now. And that's leading to the next point you made, which was really beautifully put. That just because you have children doesn't mean that your life is completely over. Sure, it means obviously more than anyone, more than myself. I don't have kids. That it's a lot of sacrifice, obviously, but it doesn't mean that it's like you no longer exist as a person with purpose, right?
Absolutely. Even now, I feel like your purpose is more important because your children are watching everything you're doing.
Yes.
So we can tell, we can talk all day and tell our kids what to do, but they're watching us and we are their first example of what is right in the world. So if I'm teaching my kids, yeah, it's important for you to go after what you want, but I'm sitting on the couch watching Happy Days every day and not even trying, what message am I sending to my children? Right? So, yeah, I think that once we have children, it becomes even more important for us to be authentic in who we are. Like, I can't say that I love life and I'm passionate about pursuing my dreams if I'm just giving up on them because I have kids. And then the flip side to that is my children actually taught me this is that your kids don't want to be the reason why you don't pursue your dreams in life. They don't want to
Mhm.
be that thing that stopped you. That's how does that make them feel? My kids actually taught me that lesson a few years ago when I was kind of like in a place where I didn't really want to do the work I was doing anymore in my business. I kind of felt like I was taking too much time away from my children. And my youngest son, Eric, was struggling in math. So I started to feel like, well, if I took more time to practice his homework with him and practice whatever, to go over things with him, spend more time on his homework, then he would get better grades. And so I sat them all down one day after school and I was like, okay, guys, I'm going to quit my business. I'm going to stop doing this for a while and just help Eric so he can fix his grades and stuff like that. And so they were like, oh, no, you don't. You're not going to quit your business, mom. Like, what are you going to tell all the moms with dreams out there who believe in you? And then they were like, you're not going to blame us. Like, Eric will be fine. We'll help him. So the other, the older kids kind of were like stepping in. And it really just it made me pause and I was like, you know what? I never even thought about that. But my daughter was the most vocal one. She was like, absolutely not. We will not be the reason why you did not do whatever it is that you've been doing. So I say all of that to say that our children often can be our motivation and our inspiration for going after the things that we want. And sometimes we have the wrong perspective about it. We feel like we need to stop everything because of them, but often I feel like it's the reverse. We should continue because of them.
Beautifully put. I truly agree with that. That's really cool. And it's actually that's something that I really hadn't given too much thought to, but yeah, I think a lot of people probably really need to hear that and maybe they can breathe that really huge sigh of, oh, relief and maybe a little bit of excitement. And so just for a quick plug too, right here in the middle, can you tell me what your business is that you're doing right now, Moms with Dreams?
Sure. Thank you so much. I don't really like to call myself a coach, but I am more like a strategist. I help women, working moms especially, figure out what they want to do. If they have had a dream to start a business or go back to school or write a book, I help them come up with the strategy and walk with them through the process of living out their dream. And that looks like helping them come up with the schedule to maintain everything that they already have and then integrate their new dream or their passion or their thing that they're going to work on into their already busy life. So that's what I do in my business. I also have Moms with Dreams University, which will be relaunching soon. And I teach courses there, which also support women in their journey to figuring out what they want to do, whether it's discovering their purpose, starting a podcast, going to school, whatever it is. I'll have different courses. So that'll be launching soon. And then of course I have the podcast called Moms with Dreams. And it's a really cool podcast. It's I love it because I get to showcase awesome women from all over the world who are living out their passion, doing what they love, and still being amazing moms. So you get to hear real stories from real women who are out there doing it and hearing their strategies, what they're doing, their challenges, all of the, their journey. And it's really inspiring. And I really do love the fact that I get to talk to so many awesome women and get more of their perspectives as well, because I learn from them just as they learn from me. So it's a great thing.
Super, super great. And where can people learn more about Moms with Dreams?
They can go to ericablocker.com or momswithdreams.com and you'll find my podcast there. You'll also find a little bit about me. I'm actually in a transition right now. So you'll go there, and if depending on when you're listening to this podcast, it might still say Erica Gordon, which was my old married name, but I'm divorced, and so I'm changing everything over to my maiden name, which is Erica Blocker. So I'm super excited about that. But you get to read about my story and some of my life challenges and the things that I'm doing, and also get to listen to the podcast there as well.
Excellent. Yeah, and I definitely did get to read through the website, and I definitely recommend everyone taking a chance to look through it because it's really cool. You've led an interesting. It's been a journey for you for sure with its ups and downs. It sounds like, and I want
Yes.
to touch on something we talked about at the podcast movement conference when I was talking with you. I mentioned that like in the first season, it was a little bit. I have a mixture of people and let me step back a little bit and say that just as a human race, genetically, there's hardly any difference whatsoever between us with regard to our DNA structure, with all that good stuff, you know. But somehow, and I've been listening to a new podcast that I can't remember the name of. I'll try to plug it in here. All right, it's been a minute since I spoke with Erica, and I'm still editing this episode as I speak right now. The podcast that I was talking about there, I had just started listening to it, and it's called Seen on Radio, and that's seen with SCENE. The series is called Seeing White. It's hosted by John Bwin, and I won't give anything away, but I believe that it's probably one of the most important podcast series that, especially us in America, that we can listen to, but really in a global sense, I feel that it's pertinent. And it shatters so many crazy paradigms. I can't overstate the value of that podcast series. So please go listen to it, download it. It's really worth it. Again, the podcast is Seen on Radio, SCENE on Radio, and the series is called Seeing White. I wanted to find out from you how in this country, being a person of color, how that's affected you in your journey with not only everyday life, but of creating your own business and everyday interactions, or if it's not affected you.
That's a good one, Jeremy. I probably, let me see. Well, I know that, okay, so I'm going to take you back to when I was a child because this is what I can remember. I honestly, as an adult, haven't really experienced many issues, conflicts, or problems related to race. So I don't really have a good story about that. But I know that when I was growing up, I grew up in a predominantly white, pretty affluent area. And like I said, I always been very interested in education. So I always excelled in school. I was always, like one of the high achievers, A students, all of that. So I speak probably, I spoke very intelligently from a young age. And I remember when I was a girl, when we would go to family functions and my cousins would all be there, they would always say that I sound white. Like they're like, you talk like you're white. And I was like, what does that mean? I didn't understand. I always felt like I knew it was an insult, but I didn't understand, like, well, how am I supposed to talk? So then it made me self-conscious about the way I speak, right? I started to think, like, is there something wrong with the way I'm talking? But then when I went back home and I was around with my friends and went to school, there was no issue. So I started to feel like, oh, well, am I really black? Like, what's going on? Like, do I fit in with my own people, or do I fit in more with whites because of the environment that I've been raised in? So I think that growing up, that was always kind of like a concern of mine. Did I have enough of the black culture in me? Was I black enough? And just, being comfortable around other black people outside of, as I grew up, it didn't really, I think I kind of adjusted because I just I mix in with other people naturally.
Sure.
And I think I do that because I grew up around a lot of whites, but I'm also black. So I kind of know how to, you know, I don't know what the word is right now, but I kind of know how to like get along with all types of people.
Yeah,
So,
sure. And I think a lot of us definitely can, do that. It's like it doesn't. We realize that. Well, it doesn't. I don't really care. I would love to
mhm.
just hang out with just anybody. But did you come to any? And sorry to interrupt you if I did. But did you come to any resolution with that when you had those questions? Like, well, am I losing a part of? I don't know of. My black culture, if you will, or am I being? Did you come to any like, oh well, you know what? Here's what I believe about this, and I'm okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing, and all that. Is there anything there?
Yeah, it actually it like triggered a desire in me to learn more about my culture and my history because I felt like growing up in that school district. I don't know if it was that school district or just it's like that everywhere. I'm sure that there are some differences depending on where you live, but I wasn't taught a lot about black culture. I wasn't taught a lot about how to celebrate it, how I wasn't taught about like the kings and queens of Africa, all of the things that I should have been proud of, for being black. I wasn't taught that. So I went on my own mission and I set out to like learn more of the real history of black people and our accomplishments and the things that we contributed to this country and how the country wouldn't have been built without our sweat and tears and the lives that were sacrificed and all of that stuff. And so that's kind of it. I don't know. That was like the catalyst for me to learn more about my culture. And so that I'm glad it happened because I think if it didn't, I don't know if I would have had such an interest in knowing more about my black culture.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Yeah. I mean, at the time, it probably stung a little bit, but that was definitely a good catalyst for getting you to learn more. And that's awesome. Do you have any? If you have any recommendations with regard to books that if anyone else who's listening is interested in, like, you know what, I even of whatever race, whatever culture, I was like, well, I would be interested in learning more about the culture of being of the black culture of kings and queens of various nations in Africa. I'd be awesome to know about, because I think a lot of people are just like,
Hmm.
oh, we don't really know. I think we have this vague idea of we know that, like you said. Well, I mean, there's a couple things. What's been given to society, is that's indisputable, of course. And then also just like you said, the blood, sweat, tears, sacrifice, and all the let's be honest, horrific things that happen, and just the way that people were brought over to
Hmm.
this country. It's horrific, right? So it's just, I think it's good for everyone, and I don't mean to. I'm not even talking about making people, especially maybe like people that are white, feeling guilty or anything in this day and age. I'm just talking about education, knowing what's happened throughout history, and how there's still things going on that obviously that are not good, that need to be addressed, that are maybe not even right in your face like they used to be 300 years ago or
Hmm.
whatever. Hey, sorry to interrupt, but this is post edit Jeremy again. I just want you to know that I'm being pretty light here at this point in time. And after listening to Scene on Radio, not to beat a dead horse, but seriously, you have to listen to that. The the issues right now are and historically are worse than I thought. And systemic racism and ultimately hoarding of power is extraordinarily prevalent and needs to be faced. And I'm not going to go into a whole diatribe here, but this definitely deserves further discussion and analysis. So, anyway, back to the discussion with Erica. But there's still things that we just need to be aware of, So if there's anything like that you could recommend just to gain awareness and to be more knowledgeable as humans here, I think that would be
Hmm.
awesome to have.
Well, the one book that stands out is called Asada. It's spelled Assata. And it was the story, I don't remember if it was an autobiography or a biography of Asada Shakur, who was one of the Black Panthers.
Hmm.
And so that story was very eye opening because it let me see a different side of the Black Panthers. I had grown up thinking what I knew about them was that they were violent, they were a threat to society, they were dangerous, and it really wasn't that at all. It was an organization that started to support and serve the Black community, and then was infiltrated by the government, and everything got crazy. But the story was really good, and it was enlightening to me. I felt like, wow, this is part of my history. This is a woman who believed in whatever she believed in, and she went, she wasn't afraid to stand up to the police. And of course, now she's exiled from the country. But her story is very powerful. That's the book, one of the books that I read early on that really stands out. I think I read that when I was maybe 17 or 18, like when I started my whole journey.
Hmm.
So that's a great book to read, and I can't think of anything else. But I don't even know. Like, you could just Google stuff.
Of course.
And
Yep.
there's something you mentioned that I wanted to touch on, Jeremy. And I didn't say this before, but you talked about the horrific things that happened. And one of the things that really annoyed me about what I learned in history was that I almost felt like slavery was like it was brushed right over. Like, the fact that people died on the way over and the way they were treated like animals. I didn't learn any of that until I did my research as a high school graduate or someone later on in my
Are
life.
you
And it was
serious?
just, yeah, because
Wow.
like the way we learned it, it was like, oh yeah, Black people were slaves. They were brought over on ships. And we didn't get the details. Like, we didn't get the true
It was
story.
like one sentence and done. And then let's
I
move
mean,
on to
kind
something
of.
else. Wow.
Yeah, it was very basic. It was brushed over. It was like, and then I learned more as I got older, but I was just like, wow, I can't believe that it was just diminished so much to where it was like, wow.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, exactly. And I hate that about a lot of I don't know, I haven't, I'm not up with all of the things that are going on in education right now with what they're actually teaching, which is something I really probably should be aware of. But yeah, just trying to hide the fact that there's a lot of blood on this nation's hands, with what's gone on. You're right. Like, enslaving people, bringing them over, literally treated like animals. And you know what? It's like it doesn't even stop there. And then of course it keeps on going here with enslavement. And then we have the Native American population too, where obviously, that was genocide essentially.
mhm.
So in that's another thing we almost just cover that up with, well, the Pilgrims came over and made friends with,
Exactly.
and that's why we
Right?
have Thanksgiving and la la la, and Santa Claus was friends with them too, probably. It's like, what the hell? Are you
Yeah.
serious? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how. Yeah. That's exactly what it was. So I encourage everyone. Like, if you feel like I was kind of blindsided or bamboozled about your history, I encourage you to dig deeper and find out the truth. Because I mean, we can't. I know that the schools can't do everything, but it's our job to really go and find out who you are, where you come from, learn about your past, because that also has a lot to do with where you are today in life. Like, if you have certain things that you don't know, like if you don't know where you come from, it's hard to understand what you can do, right? If you don't know you come from kings and queens and you have power and like intelligence, your like ancestors were scholars and they were mathematicians and all these things, and you don't know that, then it might make it difficult for you to believe that it's anywhere in you, especially if that's not something you see every day in your everyday life. Like, if your parents weren't like that, if your environment's not supportive of that, you might not even know what's in your history and in your blood.
Yep. That's super, super important. That's a really good point. Just understanding. I love that. Seriously, I really do love that. And I hope that is taken home by a lot of people, that you are descended from kings and queens and scholars. And, I love that.
Hmm.
Um, Going back to, I didn't mean to, I don't want to make this whole podcast episode, just about this, but I feel like it's very poignant. It's very pertinent in this, for sure, in this day and age, and probably will be for a long time. But when you talked about the Black Panther movement, that's what a lot of us, and me even personally, like the way I was even brought up, just in a, all you hear about, all you think about is the violence associated with the Black. You think of Martin Luther King Jr., you think, the peace movement, you think of nonviolent protest, and like, yes. And then Black Panther, it's a little bit more edgy. It's a little bit more like, well, I don't know. You think
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm X comes to mind, and you think of violence, and you think of berets, and but it's like totally all these just stereotypes that you have in your head. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm wondering if, and do you think that there's a parallel between the Black Panther movement and the Black Lives Matter movement of this day and age?
Definitely. I could see that.
Because, like,
I could see
the
that.
reason I ask is I think there's a lot of misconceptions around the Black Lives Matter movement. I wrote an article recently just because I realized that it was so people misunderstood what it was, and they were comparing it to the KKK, which was the most absurd thing I could ever imagine. And people saying that that it's just this violent whatever blah 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 group, and it's like, no, you go to they don't condone any violence whatsoever, and it's all about equality and et cetera, right? Just absurd. So I'm just wondering, like your perspective too, if you thought that.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't really I haven't done any real research on Black Lives Matter, but I do know the premise is what you said, that it's about, not it's not about anti-white or anti-other cultures, it's about pro-black and protecting black lives and all of that stuff. So, I definitely see a parallel. I also see the parallel that I see is how it can be taken as a threat, just as the Black Panthers were
Uh-huh.
taken as a threat. And that's why, ultimately they were infiltrated and shut down because, the government was threatened by their power. And I could see how Black Lives Matter doesn't, I think it's a different spectrum of things that they're not carrying guns, they're not, they're not literally
Yeah.
walking around, the same
Yeah,
way.
exactly. Yeah. A little bit different,
They're
right?
not armed, right? Yeah, it's a little different, but I do see a parallel, and I could see why people would get afraid of that because it's like, oh, now you have these groups of black angry. Some people think they're angry protesters and they can incite violence. You never know. Like, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to talk about it, but I do definitely see a parallel.
Cool. Yeah, that's something I guess for yeah, just to think about for sure. It just kind of came to me while you were talking. I'm like, I wonder, but that, it's
Hmm.
just kind of speculation at this point, and probably bears a lot more research. But I don't know. I'll dive into that, and I'll let you know what I come
Yeah,
up
let
with,
me
or if
know.
you come up with anything too, or talk with anybody. Cool. So I'll move us on to a little bit more of a different, back to more of a just you, the Erica Blocker,
Hmm.
and we're gonna say the Erica Blocker because we'll
Okay.
see who who knows what you're going to achieve in this life. I may be asking for your autograph pretty soon here. I don't
You might. You never
know.
know.
Seriously. Okay, so and I don't know why I feel I need to preface this with I don't mean to be macabre, but I'm just gonna go ahead and ask it. When you die, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as a good person, someone who cared about people, gave her best, and did everything she could to treat people with kindness, compassion, love, and yeah, that's it. Like, I just want to be known as a good person, someone who did, brought added something, like left her mark on the world in a way that she'll always be remembered and leave a legacy for her children, her grandchildren, great grandchildren, and just in some way made the world a better place.
Cool. And what gives you in this world? What gives you the most sense of peace and wonder, if you will? What brings you to those moments of complete and utter clarity when you see things and you just are at peace?
I am at peace when I'm near the ocean. Whenever I go and I listen, or I just sit on the beach and listen to the waves or watch them, I feel like that is the most peaceful place that I could be in. and it just makes me feel such a state of tranquility that I I don't know, it's just so relaxing and it's so peaceful and I feel so connected to God and I just feel like wow, he made this. It's so beautiful and at this moment there's nothing that can like disrupt that or alter my state of mind. It's just even when I'm there and the kids are like if they're doing something that normally would irritate me, it doesn't even bother me. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, whatever, go do whatever. And so that's my greatest I think moment of peace.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. Well, I have just one last question, and this is the one that I kind of want to encapsulate your worldview. So I want to imagine something for me. I'm going to kind of take you on a journey, and I do this with every one of my interviewees, and I'll probably have to change it up pretty soon here because it's the same. I pretty much asked the same thing. But first, have you ever seen the series Sherlock on Netflix?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
With that. Okay. Well, let me use a different person then here. What's your if do you have a favorite movie or favorite television show?
I don't really watch TV because I don't have time.
Yeah,
But
totally. That's good. You don't have time to watch Happy Days every day after work. What? I don't get it.
not that much. But if I had to pick right now, like the one show that I do kind of watch a lot is Being Mary Jane
Being Mary
with Gabrielle
Jane.
Union.
Okay, let me look here. And Being Mary Jane. I'm just gonna do. If you just bear with me here. So it stars Gabrielle Union is the looks like the lead actress there. Gabrielle Union.
Yep,
Okay,
she is.
cool. Well, that sets the precedent for me then here. So let's imagine that one day you are walking through Central Park, and it's a beautiful spring day. For some reason, you're in New York. You just you're in New Jersey, right? So it makes you probably go to New York
Yeah,
sometimes.
I could totally be in Central Park,
Yeah.
right?
Beautiful, beautiful spring day in Central Park. You have kids wandering around, people eating ice cream, flowers are blooming, and all that good stuff. When all of a sudden, people freeze somehow, and a spacecraft appears. And out steps from that spacecraft Gabriel from your television show Being Mary Jane. Now, it's not actually Gabriel, but this alien looks and acts just like Gabriel, and you're like, "But I don't even understand what's going on here." Kind of takes you by surprise. But this person is like, okay, I've been watching you from afar, from our own planet, and we just want to know. Well, and we've seen that, you sometimes when you have like 5 minutes out of your entire year to watch this show, that's why we wanted to appear as Gabriel for you. But we want to know how you see life here. We only have 5 minutes too because we're busy as well on our planet. We have so many things we're doing, and we actually have a Moms with Dreams program that we've implemented by watching you. But we want to know how you see and understand life on this planet. And we want to bring it back and just kind of like document it for our archives and all that. We're kind of like, I don't know, we're documenting all of the planets and in other galaxies and all that good stuff. But you only have 5 minutes to do so. What would you tell this alien as the sole representative of the planet Earth, telling them how you see and understand life on the planet?
I would say that life on the planet is amazing. Like I said earlier, you have the ability to do whatever it is that you want to do. Like there are no limits and you have the power. Like if you can set your mind to doing something, then you can actually do it. When you think about anything that you want to, like, you may try to like think of something that's so big and crazy, but if you really break it down, you're like, oh, that's not that hard. I can just start here and take this next step, and then I'll do this, and then keep taking these steps. And before I know it, I will be exactly where I want it to be. It may not look how you thought it was going to look, but you can certainly achieve it. So I would just say that life on the planet is full of possibilities. It's beautiful. It's amazing. The world is made up of so many incredible people. And the true beauty is the relationships that you make with people and how you get to connect with them and learn from them. And it's like endless. it's wonderful, and I wouldn't want to be on any other planet because I don't know what life is like out there in the rest of the galaxy, but I do know that I am fortunate to live in this time of, in space and whatever, because I wouldn't want to live in any other time frame. I feel like this is the best time to be alive because we have access to so many different things, and one of those being the internet, which has made the world a much smaller place. So we have the ability to connect with people all over the world where we once didn't have that ability. So it just feels like, now more than ever is a time for us to really latch on to the possibilities and really connect with who we are and who and what we want to accomplish and what we're here to do, and really just go for it. I feel like now is that moment, and nothing is promised, so we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So I say that I love being able to live in the moment and have the freedom to choose to do what I want to do with my life, and have the freedom to live where I want to live, travel when I want, and express myself freely, and not feel like I'm going to be punished or killed for expressing my values, for sharing my talents and gifts, for just making my Erica mark on the planet. So that's what I would say about life here on planet Earth.
Thank you so much. That's great. And when you said having Erica, making your Erica mark on the planet, I literally had an image of planet Earth with big Erica lettering on it. I honestly did myself.
Love
It was
it.
pretty awesome. So thank you for that image. It was cool.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. That was a cool question.
Yeah, of course, of course. Cool. Well, that is all I have for you right now to ask, and I once again appreciate all your time is super valuable, and I'm so glad I ran into you at the Podcast Movement Conference in Anaheim.
Yeah, same.
Serious.
Me too.
Hopefully, we can
For real. Like,
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I was really happy too. I loved the conversation that we had, and I'm glad that we got a chance to do the interview. It's great, and I love your podcast. I love what you're doing. I love the concept of it. It's so creative, and just a unique twist on life, which is really good.
Cool. I appreciate that too. Cool. Well, let me know if I can do anything to help out with if Moms and Dreams need any more shout outs or whatever. I mean, I'm definitely going to be including it in this podcast and putting it on the blog and putting links up and all that good stuff. But, just let me know if I can help out too, because I really do appreciate you taking the time out to do this.
Absolutely, and same goes for you.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out this episode of In the Shoes Of. If you like or don't like the podcast, feel free to leave a review or reach out to me. My email is jnickel42@gmail.com. I can't promise you I'll get back to you right away, but I'll definitely try and get to it. Anyway, thank you so much for checking it out. Until the next time, see you later.